As always, we're running, but things are good. We're blessed to be here and to spend time here in the church. And I'm just blessed to be back. And since I'm already late, we're going to have to jump into the scriptures right away. Which is probably good since I've been accused of speaking too much before I get to the sermon. But we preachers, I guess, like to listen to ourselves or something. Let's jump into some passages here. Let's go to the 1 Kings. 1 Kings 19. 1 Kings 19. And what I want you to look at of 1 Kings 19 is that whole process of that confrontation that happened between Elijah and Jezebel, and how the Lord handles when somebody is backsliding. Now, I don't know, I suspect that all of you guys have never backslidden. You know, you always walk perfectly before the Lord. But I've had my issues in life. And while not the abandonment of the church per se, but maybe a lukewarmness that come upon you. Anybody identifies here? Anybody honest in this house right now? You don't feel it. Ever been there? Was like, okay, I'm a Christian. I'm not leaving. I love the Lord. You know, I'm here. I just don't have it right now. And if you were to ask Elijah, the low point of his ministry life will be right here, this passage right here. I'm sure that up in heaven, he might have attempted to tell somebody, can we skip that chapter? I mean, do you have to really put it on the passages? My own horrible failure right then and there. How would you like to be him? Where God looks through your life and finds like the thing that you don't really want to put in front of people, says, I'm going to put it right here. Ask David that. What little chapter he would have liked not to be a part of with the woman and Uriah and all of that. I can assure you he would have said, that's not a good one. Can we skip that one? And some of you guys have lived really, really, really holy life. Some of you, never lifted a finger to do anything wrong. The rest of us are human. And so you find in this chapter right here the expressions of this man as he is running away from Jezebel. And as he is being challenged by God and asked specifically, why are you here? Now, I don't know how that conveys and everything that God portrays in the scriptures, but I do know this. I do know that in this chapter, the Lord handles him kindly and at the same time puts him in his place. For when we fail, there is a tendency to look for a way to blame God. Isn't that the fun part? We do it, right? But we find some way where it is God's fault. Jeremiah said, it's because you called me. In fact, some of those passages say, why didn't somebody, kill the guy who was going to tell my mom that she was pregnant when I was going to be born? Meaning it wasn't a matter of murder. It was a matter of saying, I didn't want to be born. There was no great thing at that time of me having gone through something in my spirit to understand what God was doing. And in this passage, then God is handling the backsliding preacher, the man who had brought fire from heaven and all of that, now is in a position where he is struggling to find out, what is it that I am? What is it? Why is it that I go to church all the time? Have you ever asked that? I know your children have asked that. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Why do we have to go again? We just went last week. Let's move it to like once a month. Why? Why do we have to go all the time? Same people, same preachers, same things they say. So he's questioning everything here. He's saying, God, you hate me. I'm the last one left. I have struggled with everything. Nobody wants to follow the Lord. And I found out that I don't want myself either. In fact, I want to die. I want to die. Not me, by the way. I'm okay. I'm saying him. That's what he told God. I wish I was dead. You're talking about that feeling that is not only a physical depression, but a spiritual depression, which is worse. Because a physical depression can be handled by a spiritual renewal. But a spiritual depression has to be cured by a miracle from God. And how do you call on a miracle when you're spiritually depressed anyway? And he cannot actually find God in all the things that he has found God before in. A fire and the strength. There's a fire that came through and a storm and all this other stuff. He's used to finding God in those things. He's not there. So you can find him in this struggle as he is trying to figure out how God is going to do this in his future. So let's start with chapter 19 of 1 Kings and verse 1. And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and withal how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sends a messenger unto Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. She's telling him, I'm going to kill you. Verse 3. And when he saw that he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belonged to Judah, and left his servant there. So the first journey, he had somebody with him, a servant that was with him. Verse 4, but he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree, and he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him and said unto him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baked on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. And another time, I want to talk about Elijah's food and who fed him. He has this deal in his book about how many ways a prophet can be fed. This one being an angel that came over and cooked for him. That's a chef right there. I don't think they can mess it up. I don't think it can get burned or something like that. I don't think it can have not the right amount of salsa. You know, it's an angel cooking. If he can cook, nobody else can. And we had ravens feeding him not too long before this. You remember this? That there's these ravens that come over and fed him. And I preached about this in a particular place, and there was a lady there, and she started a business that is called Raven's Food. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. My sermons have produced a restaurant. Interesting. And then if you remember, even as we go into those passages, you will find that he went to a widow, remember, and there was a miraculous way to eat there too. If you really wanted to never starve, you follow this guy around, because he's got the strangest ways to find food. Verse 7. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time and touched him and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. And he arose and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of God. He goes on to explain his encounter there, which I've said some already to you about it. And let's go to verse 19, because I wanna get there to verse 19. Same chapter, 19 of 1 Kings. So he departed thence and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. And Elijah passed by him and cast his mantle upon him. And he left the oxen and ran after Elijah and said, Let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee. And he said unto him, Go back again, for what have I done to thee? Verse 21. And he returned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slew them and boiled their flesh with the instruments of oxen and gave unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah and ministered unto him. And I want you to remember that there were 12 yoke of oxen, and that he killed one of those pairs to inaugurate his ministry as he ran after Elijah. And I want you to remember that. Can we pray? And I'm going to ask Pastor to pray for us.
Father, we thank you for this time to be together in your holy name, Lord God, and to hear your word. We thank you for your Holy Spirit that leads us and guides us into truth. Lord, we desire the truth. We desire the revelation of your word that is bring forth in our lives, Lord God. We ask, Father God, that you help us to be doers, not just hearers. Bless Oscar as he speaks the word today in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. Now I'm going to talk about oxen today. Oxen are a staple in the scriptures. There are a lot of them in the scriptures. And in fact, in the book of Ezekiel chapter 1, you're going to find that one of the faces of those angels that we call cherubim was an oxen. An oxen. You can look it up in your own time in Ezekiel chapter 1. And I want to express something about oxen because I do know, and I've been around them. Anybody here has been around oxen? Do you know what oxen are? You only know what they taste like, right? Oxen, they're bulls. They are the male of the cow. They are animals that grow strong. And an ox is an animal that gets castrated. So the bull gets castrated and now become an ox. Same animal. It's just that they castrated him. And they do this because bulls have a certain, willingness. They are not very obedient. If you ever seen the Spanish, when they're fighting with the bulls, they're not fighting with oxen. They're fighting with bulls. Oxen, for the general, are very passive, which is the reason why they castrate the bull. They castrate the bull so that he will become an ox. And once he's an ox, he becomes very docile and very obedient so that they can put a yoke upon it, so that he can work. When the bull is whole, he does whatever he thinks. He's actually very aggressive. If you walk in front of him, he might attack you. Trust me in this one. I grew up in rural areas and I have been chased by a few. Sometimes my own fault. There was this big black bull that was fascinating to me when I was really young. There's one who have a hump and they're looking mean and all that. Huge animal. And when you're little, you think they're even bigger than they are. And there was a big fence around him, and I would watch him from outside. He would get really mad and come at me, and I would just step back. He couldn't go through that fence, so I was fine. And I will hear my mother telling me, Oscar, don't you dare. And I'm like, I'm here. I mean, I'm just watching him. But mothers have a way of knowing what you're thinking. I don't know what it is. It's like a sixth sense. I know what you're thinking. You're going to try to get in there with him. And I was thinking that. I was like, so one particular morning, about 6 a.m., as my parents were all over and doing all the stuff and the siblings were gone and I was supposed to get ready to go to school, I decided that was the day. Crawl under some fence, got in there and started taunting the animal. I had a plan though. When he starts running, I am going to get under the fence and get out. He is not going to touch me. See, I've seen people do this, so I was ready. I had a plan. Nobody told me that the bull did not get the memo. He did not run at me the way I thought he was going to run at me. I thought he's coming straight at me and he's going to do this. He did not do that. He ran around and got behind me. And I panicked. I could have done it, but I seen him where he's going. And I thought, you evil thing. And I ran the other way and my legs were too little to outrun this bull. And so he's chasing me all over the place. He can kill me, obviously. He's a big animal. And he's got me now running like crazy. And he took my mother to get in there with some big old stick and start hitting on this animal at the risk of her own health. I knew, though, as she was hitting that bull, trying to get him to not chase me, that I was going to be the last one she was going to hit with that stick that she had in her hand. Because she had to tell me, don't you dare. So I asked the question, even little. I said, why, Mom, is that animal so aggressive? First of all, she told me that's how God made them. After she had hit me with a stick. And then I said, but how come we have these other ones that they are able to just, work and stuff. I go, I pet them, and then they have no problem with me. And they said, because those are oxen. And I said, what is that? He goes, well, I'll tell you when you grow up. And I learned very quickly that that's what they do. They can take the same animal that attacked me, they can castrate him, and all of a sudden, he becomes docile. So that they can put a yoke upon him. And this is the whole aspect of why this animal becomes important in the scriptures. For whenever it is that you come into the kingdom, and this is what God is doing in these passages, whatever it is that you decide to come in, see, this was a typology of the Christ. For when he was in heaven, he was no servant. Everyone served him. But when he came upon this earth to be a servant, to put a towel around his midst-size and start washing people's feet and doing the things that a servant does, he was not representing that Godhead that he is, but he was representing a human servant. He had allowed himself to become docile, so they can take him into places and crucify him and do all this other stuff that him as a king could not allow. Then why does he put these animals so much in the scriptures? Because he's saying that this is what needs to happen to a person, a family, a church when they begin to walk in the kingdom. The process that happens when you come into the Lord, when you begin to walk in the kingdom of God, is that God has seen that you come as willingness. You have your own ideas. You have your own mindset. You have your own thoughts. You have your own will. You have things. He tells you to do something, you bark. He tells you not to chase it, you chase it. You tell you not to do that, you do it. Why? Because you come that way. It's the flesh. That's what it's called. But he does not come to castrate anything. The Bible says he's here to circumcise your heart. Meaning that he is going to do some cutting so that you will become docile, that you may have and carry his yoke. What is his yoke? Is his will. It is him telling you what to do and where to go. It is him coming into your life and saying, I don't like this and I don't like that, and I need you to change this. And whenever you have to know that you are already in the process of being broken, is when you start kneeling down and saying, not my will, but thine be done. I am convinced that we have way too many bulls and too few oxen. Our churches break up and divide. Our churches have all kinds of struggles because we have too many people with their own will. The Bible says there's only one will that matters, and it is the will that is established in heaven. You can tell me, I have decided this is how my family is going to be. And I'm going to say, show me if that is the light of the scripture. The will that matters in your family is the will of God, not the will of man. So God uses this thing. Elisha runs back, and he's running back because he's gotten the call. A mantle has been put upon him. Elijah, the best prophet, the best known prophet of all the land, has come to him. Now he knows his life has to change. And God says, what are you going to do? He looks at the oxen, and the oxen could be saying, what did I do? Why are you going to hurt me? He kills 2 of these oxen and offers them. Why does he have to do that? He's saying at that moment, I have stopped having my own will. I have decided that I'm going to do whatever God says from here on out. There is nothing more beautiful, but also more frightening than saying that. Because God gets these things that he says to us from time to time that are ever so straight. Oh, I remember the first time I was all in an altar crying out. I'm sure I've done that before, but that's the time I remember crying out to God and asking him and saying, God, I surrender, I surrender, I surrender. And he said, really? I'm going to send you to the ends of the world. And I said, oh no. Where are you going? I don't know. But he's got this thing where he's going to point his finger and he's going to say exactly what he wants from you. And Elijah does that with Elisha and puts his mantle, and he runs back, and his urgency is, the Spirit is moving him. I have to become an ox. I got to stop being myself. It is needful that I may decrease, that he may increase. If I see too much of myself, there is not too much of God. That's John the Baptist who said that, by the way. If I see Ray, I can surely tell you how he's doing. Not because I'm a prophet, but if I see too much of Ray, I'm not seeing Jesus. If you see me and you say, well, that's Oscar. Yeah, well, he does this and he does. That's how he is. And this is what he does. And blah, 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 blah. Sooner or later, you're going to have to come to a realization. Lest I decrease, there is no increasing of the Lord. It is put in the scriptures. You cannot have both. You cannot have yourself and Jesus ruling your life. It is going to be Jesus or it's going to be you, but it's not going to be both. So John cries out and he says, I got too much of myself. I got too many things going on myself. The gospel is not carried by bulls. No. Let me give you an example that is at the tabernacle, at the temple. There was a brazen laver where they washed their hands and all this other stuff. There was a place. And later on, you're going to find out that there were 12 oxen that carried this thing. Any of you remember this? The 12 oxen had it on top of them. There were 4 looking to the north, 4 looking to the south, 4 looking to the east, 4 looking to the west. None looking inside. They were all looking to the 4 corners of the world. 4 each. And the whole idea was this: we will take this gospel to the 4 corners of the world. The oxen will, not the bulls. They will. They will go anywhere to present the gospel and carry that thing that God has given them. None was looking inward. You know what that means? It means that the gospel is not
something that we do here in the house of God. This is praise and this is worship. This is us talking to our God. But the gospel doesn't happen here. The gospel happens out there. It is while you're driving in the places where you're at, or while you're tending to the customer that is difficult. I don't know how many of you work in customer service over here, but this is a crazy place to do that. I've seen people getting after waiters and waitresses in a way that I think, wow. And right after we pray, hey, yeah. God bless you. Or in the places where somebody's standing to somebody, person to person, and yet it is in those situations where God's gospel has to show. For it is there that oxen has to react and say, my will says, let's slap this guy. But the will of God says, turn the other one. That is where it gets difficult. When somebody's driving erratically and cuts you off, somebody say amen to me right here, right now. It is not praise the Lord that comes from your mouth. At least the thought. I had a pastor that said, I used to, whenever I did, I would point and sit, one way to heaven, one way to heaven. With this finger, by the way. And then he'll say, but I was hoping they would think it was the other one. And I said, that's a sin anyway. My will is to react. My will is there. It's very clear what I desire, what I want to push. Because there's many things that I disagree with. Parents, you know how you raise your children. Have you ever seen one? I won't mention names, that is stirring everything up. And you're a parent who maybe you were very strict with your ones, and you're like in the doctor's office and you're like, let me borrow this child for a few minutes. They climb here, they grab this, they broke that, they did, they scream, they did, they have stuff, they come under something, they kick you, they walk around, and the parents do nothing, they're on their tablet. And you look, that is your will. Especially the crowd that is a little older that used to do the spanking. They're like, oh, had that been my child, I would have hung him from his feet somewhere already. That's not how it is. I understand there's nothing wrong with that, and it's probably righteousness that is doing that. But I am saying that even in that, God wants you to show the light. For the gospel is carried by oxen, not by bulls. The gospel is carried by those who are capable of acting like emissaries of God and be humble in a broken way. Oxen don't act naturally. When they're supposed to attack, rather than attack, they are docile. See, I had some oxen that I have messed with before. This is why as a child I thought it was no problem. I would throw rocks at them. I was not the right kind of child. Something was missing up there. I'm sorry. And they would just look up and, check me out, and they'll just continue to eat and chew it. And I'd throw something else at them, and they'll look up and, walk off. That's what they did. They didn't ever mess with me. That's why I had in my mind, what can be so tough about this bull right here? There's nothing tough about him. He looks exactly like that other guy. I did not know anatomy. I did not know to check some things. I didn't know any of that. All I knew is he looks like that other one. Why will it be any problem? Well, he's got a will. He's got a nature that is aggressive. And here it is where God will put this animal right here, and where Jesus will walk in this earth for 3 years actually serving. For he came here that we may become servants also. And what is going to fight that is that willingness of the heart. That desire for your flesh to manifest. I wish I could stand here and tell you that I don't falter in that. That will be an absolute lie. If somebody has to fight something, has to be me. The struggle, that is the constancy. And yet when I am looking at the scriptures and I'm looking at how those things, and I look at the 12 oxen, and I know he points me in a direction, I know that he's telling me it's got to be done my way. I will send you there, but it's got to be done my way. I will use you there, but it's got to be done my way. Pass this cup from me, said Jesus. But not my will, but thine be done. You know how this manifests itself? Let me tell the young ones. When you are tempted to do something you're not supposed to do as a Christian. There's a party that you're not supposed to go to. And all your friends are going. Oh, those of you guys who are older, you don't remember, but you did that too. Now you're acting like you never did that. You did. Long hair, you were a hippie, yeah. I've seen some of you guys' pictures, that's pretty scary. Those bell bottoms, they were hurting. They're coming back now, but whew. And you're going to go to this place, and the Holy Spirit's whispering at you, don't go. That's not for you to do. And just as you're deciding, I'm going to obey the Lord, boom, a group text. Are you going to be there? Are you going to get away from it? You're going to do Facebook, because that's how you deal with stress now. And then the pictures come on. We're getting all ready. The girl that you like is going to. She's never even looked your way, but now she sent you a message. Are you going to be there, baby? And you can see the will of God crumbling. You know, literally, that's just crumbling, yeah? Your parents are going to say, are you going? If they're Christian, that's not a place for you to go. And you say, no, I'm just going to hang out with my friends. You know, I'm going to so-and-so's house. You know, we're just going to hang out. We're really, yeah, we hate that place too. And you look right through that, you know it's not true. Both parents and children pretend like they're doing the right thing, and they're not actually. As the guy goes over, and whatever happens, happens. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times this begin to happen. And what happens is the will of God is getting crushed out of you. Until you can't hear it no more. He says to another one, that relationship that you have is not the right kind. You're not actually helping each other toward the Lord. You're helping each other the wrong way. But you're in love. And when you're in love, you can excuse everything. Yeah, he's a mass murderer, but he loves me. He'll get over it. I'll change him. That's how it is. The power of my love. I'm going to shift him in such a way he'll be just maybe kill 1 or 2, but not a mass murderer anymore. Dude is pumped with drugs and messed up so bad. And yet you say, well, you know, he's a Christian. Yeah, he's been backsliding his whole life, but he's still a Christian. I am amazed by how many Christians say that another person is a Christian when they actually want them in their life, when there is no sign of Christ in them. And what it is that God is asking, are you a bull or are you an ox? Are you going to do your willing will, or are you going to do mine? Because my yoke can only be carried by oxen. And we balk and we fight and we say no. Or when he comes to a family and he decides to put his hand on that family and he says, I'm going to raise you up to be a light in this church or in that place or in this city. And as a family, you say, we would rather watch football. It's easier. You know, you go buy the chips and I buy the drinks and we sit around and we hope the Cowboys win. Huh? That's a real good hope. Until Ezekiel Elliott comes back, they're done. And I'm not a Cowboy fan, so there you go. Oh, that's family time. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm not going against that. I'm just telling you, if God has marked you, He's going to stir you up. He's going to grab you and going to stir you up. And it's not just you, but the whole clan. He's calling every single one of you to put your foot forward and be an oxen. To walk in the light of God and carry the gospel wherever He sends you. You don't have to preach it from a pulpit like I do. It is your life that has to shine. When you're in school, when you're at work, when you're in different places, there will be eyes on you. You don't know it, but there's eyes on you, and there's all kinds of things that are happening. Oh, how many times have I been in situations where this thing happened? Some guy hit me from behind in Florida. I was in a light, just sitting there, and I don't know what he was thinking, what was going on, but he hit me going almost full speed, threw me all over the place, and I got out of the car and I was like, oh no, and it was a young cat about my size. I said, it's on. So I'm walking over to administer the five-fold ministry, to touch him, and as I'm walking toward him, I can hear the whispering of the Lord saying, he's a soul. He got out and he wasn't apologetic, which makes it worse. As if somehow I conspired to be standing in front of a red light. It makes it a lot harder. By the grace of God, there was a cop right behind him, and he just pulled up, and the whole thing went down, because I was like, all right, this is good. This is you, Lord. Just get him to the cop. Get him a ticket. Do something. That phrase that says revenge is the Lord's is one of the phrases that I dislike the most. I want revenge to be mine. But that's my will. You grasp that? That's who I am. It's my flesh. It's what it is. And it works against the things of God. It fights it. It causes a struggle constantly. And God brings His knife and He's saying, I'm going to cut into you. For if I am to take this gospel somewhere, it is not going to be taken with your will. It's going to be with mine. I played sports when I was growing up, and it was another way in which I struggled mightily. To try to keep a Christian witnessing while you're trying to defeat somebody and crush them in the arena is really hard. How do you elbow somebody in the face and say, God bless you? How do they elbow you and you say, God bless you? I was playing against this guy who was about 6'9", and he hit me like 5 times, and about the third time I realized he's not hitting me in accident here. Oh, you hear the voice of the Holy Spirit. You're a Christian. You're a Christian. You have told everybody you're a Christian. In fact, before the game, I have prayed with my teammates, and you carry this gospel upon you. Oh, but the bull wants to come out. It's like, oh, he's hitting me. Now, I'm not calling you to be soft and you stand there and take the beating. I'm not saying that. It's a sport. I understand you got to do certain things to protect yourself. What I'm saying is you cannot ask and act like Oscar. You got to act like Christ. And Christ will not elbow back. That is what makes him not likable. Everyone loved Jesus when he was the king. Everyone was all up because he was healing and touching and doing, and everybody was excited about Jesus until he said, I got to go to the cross, and I got to let these guys beat me up, and I got to let them do this thing with my hair and a crown and all this other stuff. And everyone said, that is crazy. I don't want that part of God. I don't want that. I don't want him to be that to me. I don't want to be a servant. That's not what I want to be. A servant to just serve tables is a lot easier than a servant to take a beating. Or take something when somebody's attacking you at the workplace. So many of you like the job that you have, you just don't like the people you work with. And there is usually one that is the worst. Don't say amen, but I know what that is like. That you get up in the morning and you're dreading going there because they're going to go after you about something. I had one that liked to come into my station where I worked in heavy machinery, and take my stuff. Anybody relates to this? And take it to his workplace. And then when I came out empty with stuff that was supposed to be there, it was reported that I was taking things when I would go find my stuff in his workstation. He will deny they were mine until I started putting my initials on my stuff. And I would show it to him and say, see this right here? Oscar, that's me. It's not you. Oh, I don't know how that happened. It was an accident. And he started having these arguments and struggles, and all the time just grinding and making the workforce miserable to the point you don't want to get up and go. And in the middle of all that, the Lord says, not only are you a Christian, you're a preacher. Act like it. And I'm like, I want to be like Elijah and set fire upon him. And when he's a crispy guy, then they're going to say, wow, God is with this guy. Hey, don't laugh. This is what they told Jesus, remember? They don't want to get saved. They're acting up. Two brothers came up to him and said, do you want us to bring fire? We're full of faith. We're going to burn all these people who don't want anything to do with God. And Jesus said, you're the sons of thunder. I didn't come here to burn and kill people. Are you crazy? I didn't send you out there to prove that you're the Son of God and that you can, bring fire from heaven. I can do that myself. I'm God. That's not what I came to do. He told Peter, put away your sword before you hurt yourself. I got legions that can do a little bit better than you. But I didn't come to destroy. I came to give hope. And you have to be willing to be broken. And to lay yourself in the presence of God to ask him to do. He's going to ask you to do things. And some of you guys have done things that are really, really difficult to do. You guys who stand on the streets, I know that has to be the servant heart. Because I've been with you guys a couple of times. And I know when people start like hurling and throwing things at you and saying all kinds of evil things about you, it doesn't feel like you want to be standing there. You want to I don't throw a Bible at them or something. Do something, but that's not. You keep loving. Or some of you guys who go to the jail places. I was in a jail a couple of weeks ago, trying to minister. And it is a difficult place to be because you don't know who's telling you the truth, who's lying to you, who's trying to get after you. Every single person over there has a story. Most of them are innocent. I know some are. That's true. But it can't be that most of them are innocent. Or some of you guys who have had to do so many hard things in different places, or under pressure in the workplace, or under pressure in the school place. Because you're being told to shut up and not talk, not say, not act, not say that you're a Christian. I have been told that more times in the last few years than ever put together before. I've been told specifically, you are not supposed to speak about those things here. And I will say, I will speak about the Lord. You'll have to kill me for me to stop doing that. Because that is who I am in Christ. But it is the gospel being carried upon the oxen. 4, 4, 4, and 4. Elisha has been working all his life with oxen. He understood them. There were 12 of them. 12 is the number of the government of men. 12 apostles, 12 tribes. The government of men under God. And he's worked with those 12 oxen. He's in charge. He's got one last one. He's got the one that he's working with. And when the call comes, he understands there is no way I can do this thing unless I'm a broken man. Can I tell you something? You cannot possibly do the will of God unless you're a broken person in the kingdom. The will of God will always be against your will. Because your will is a human will. And his is divine. What he has is way, way past what you have. But if you take his path and you take his yoke, you will have an absolute victory after another one in your path with God. There will be failures. I am a testimony that there will be failures. And please forgive me, I don't know all of you guys' life. And I know that you can easily point to a place where you have faltered, maybe within the last couple of weeks, maybe within the last couple of hours. But like that bull that I chased or chased me early, you have hope. You know what the hope is? Christ has tools in his hands that can carve out the perfect will of God in your life. Starting right now, right here. The worst of us that is in this house today can be the best of us within a short period of time if you're willing to be broken in the presence of God. You're willing to let him cut and cut and cut. What does he cut in you? I don't know. In some of you guys, it's going to be comfort. You're too attached to comfort. And so God can only use you where you're comfortable. And some of you guys, it's fear. You are afraid of doing the things that God had asked you to do. Because, it's not something that may be the safest thing to do. And some of you guys, it's lack of security. You're not being secure and understanding that how is he going to provide? How is he going to make this happen? And some of us is that we've been doing this too long. And we begin to get a little cynical of the ups and downs in the gospel in your own life. And you say, you know what? I've gone through this before. I'll get over it. And, we'll just move on. And you get stuck. Some of the people have been stuck for a long time. And yeah, you love the Lord, but you're stuck. And God says, I need to change that. I need to break that out of you. But in all of us, there is that desire when God comes and puts a mantle, and says, I want to use you in a different way. I want to move you in a different way. I want to do different things with you. I want to stir you up in ways that you've never been stirred before. And Elijah runs back, grabs his oxen, and chops him to pieces. He gives him to eat to people, and he's saying something. He's saying, I, like this oxen, have decided that I'm going to give myself to him unto the world. And I got to tell you that I am going to do, and I'm doing that right now. This is why I'm putting it out here. I'm having that battle with God to say, I want to dedicate myself in different ways that I've done in the past, in such a way that he may be a transforming power to me. Ever. Now, I know that I've served him in different ways, but that's yesterday. I want to know what he's doing now. What are we moving forward with? And so I leave you with that challenge. I leave you with that challenge. The reason that you're alive today and breathing is because he's got a plan for you. But there's a lot of your own will still there. Anybody know what I'm talking about? A lot of it is right there still. And the deal about it is he's saying, can I increase? And can you decrease? Can your reactions be my reactions? Can you have my mind, says the Lord, and not your mind? For my ways are higher than your ways, and my steps higher than your steps. Can I break you in such a way that you're never the same again? Can I make out of you the man, the woman that I've decided to do? Can I take your family under my wings and do with it what I want it to do? And even if it looks impossible, nothing is impossible for the Lord. Can I take this church or whatever church that listens to this and say, I want to use you in a way, but I need an oxen. I need an oxen. I went to see the bull that very afternoon, by the way. I guess I don't learn very easy. And I stood right out of it, watching him, and he was watching me. They start doing this little thing and hoofing. And I was watching and I was like, well, are you ready for round 2? We can do this. We can do this. I lost, but I was all, blasted. Because there's a fence, right? I'm like, I'm good. That bull came running fast as it came toward me. And it dawned on me, this fence is not strong enough to stop that bull. And so I run as fast as I can, running away from it. He was just bluffing with me. I mean, I guess he must have been laughing with the other bulls. Watch this fool. Watch this. And took off and got right to the fence, and I was already like, mommy! He's out to get me again. And my mother is like, what are you doing back over there? What is wrong with you? Something's wrong with you. And she was right. Something is wrong with me. That image I wanted to stay in your mind. Because that bull right there represents humanity. You know, we have our own little turf and our own little life. We set up our own little place. And we don't want anything to get into that. And whatever gets in there, be it human or divine, is going to get attacked. God says, I have a right to be there. I have a right to tell you what to do because I saved you. I have a right to tell you what my will is because I created you. I have a right to run your life because I'm your God. I have a right to shape your life because I'm the sculptor of the universe. And I had a plan before you were in your mother's womb. I have a right to have a vision for you that is not your own vision. I have a right to call out something that is wrong because I am the one who created right. I have a right because I died upon the cross that you will not die and go to hell. I have a right because I sit upon the throne and every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. I have a right to be what I am because I am your God. And your will has to go down. You know what they do when they don't want to take away a bull and they want to keep him as a bull? Probably because they want him to procreate, because the oxen cannot procreate. They come and they take off the horns. Sometimes they leave a little stubble, or sometimes they take him completely off. And it's really funny because they don't realize it. They want to attack you anyway, but they have nothing to attack you with. And all of the expressions of following God, carrying the yoke of God, carrying that burden of God, has been a privilege for me and my life. That I learned since I was a little guy. And when I learned bulls and oxen, I said, And I started paying attention to the oxen in the Bible, and I noticed that they were always docile, doing whatever they were told to do by their master. I must have been about 11 when I told the Lord, I want to be docile in your presence. I want to accept whatever you desire from me, and I want you to send me whatever you want to send me. And it has been a battle to not let the bull come up. It has been a battle, but it has been a desire of mine to serve him that way. May the Lord put it on you. Amen.